Okay, we have a quorum. Next on the agenda, Blue Star banner presentation.
Okay, good evening. As coordinator of the Blue Star Banner program in Lawrence, on behalf of Mayor Collier and I, we'd like to welcome everyone this evening. And thanks to our council members for allowing us to share this presentation as we honor 3 of our deployed military service members and their families. We'd like to recognize and thank our police chief, David Hoffman, and our fire chief, Dino Batalis, for escorting our families and for representing all of our first responders who, like the military, stand at the ready to defend our liberties. We're grateful for your service and dedication, and especially for your continued support for this program and for our military. I'd also like to introduce and thank our military representatives who are standing in for our 3 deployed service members with family here tonight. First Sergeant Jessica Wassote, I&I Detachment, Communications Company, 14th Marines, 4th Marine Division, and Chief Yeoman Jermaine Johnson Sr., Navy Operational Support Center. So if you would please stand. We thank you for your service and for standing in for our deployed service members. Thank you. The City of Lawrence Blue Star Banner program honors the men and women who have volunteered to go into the active military, reserves, or National Guard in order to protect our freedom. The 31 banners you see hanging in our city streets honor those who are stationed either domestically or internationally and are currently away from their family and friends serving our country. In addition to recognizing our military service members, it's also important that we thank their families as well. Many of them are keeping watch, they're serving communities, and holding down the fort until their service member returns safely. They too make many sacrifices while their loved ones help defend this great nation. The City of Lawrence now proudly displays 3 new banners for Seaman Cody J. Bowman, United States Navy, Lance Corporal Robert M. Bowman, United States Marine Corps, and Lance Corporal Peter T. Hiskin, United States Marine Corps. So Mayor Collier now will come up and he'll present the We Salute You packets to the families. So will the Bowman family come forward? The Bowman family has 2 deployed service members serving in different branches of the military, so brothers Cody and Robert. And accepting the We Salute You packets on their behalf are a very proud and supportive family. Mom Kimberly Huberts and stepfather Doug Huberts, brother Stephen Bowman, Eric, Ava, and Abby Huberts. And there are several family members that wanted to be here this evening but had to return to New York last week. Brittany, Bruce, Connor, Dominic, and Hunter Bird. Also supporting the Bowman family tonight are family friends David and Shelley Lotz. Lance Corporal Robert M. Bowman, United States Marine Corps. Robert has had a lifelong interest in foreign languages and different cultures. He is progressing well on his dream to become a hyper-polyglot, which I did not know what that was, so I had to look that up. And according to Wikipedia, it's someone who is fluent in many different languages, usually 6 or more. So Robert's definitely on his way because he's taught himself multiple languages, including French, Chinese, Arabic, and Portuguese. Robert is also an avid skateboarder. Since joining the Marine Corps in 2017, he's excelled in his training and was selected to be a mortarman with Weapons Company in the 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines Regiment, also known as America's Battalion. In addition to mortars, he was cross-trained on machine guns. His regiment is currently deployed on a continuing mission of protecting the interests of the United States. Hoorah, Semper Fi. Seaman Cody J. Bowman, United States Navy. Cody decided at a very young age that he wanted to join the U.S. Navy. In 2016, this became a reality as he enlisted and was sent to Recruit Training Command in Great Lakes, Illinois. After completion of basic training, Cody received orders to the USS Ronald Reagan CVN-76, stationed in Yokosuka, Japan. Since arriving on the USS Ronald Reagan, Cody has been learning critical seamanship skills with the Boatswain Mates Division. Cody's a person who will always help in any situation and especially loves working with little kids with a happy and nurturing heart. He hopes this will lead to a career in the medical field. He's the family comedian and can bring a smile to anyone's face with his humorous way of doing things. In his spare time, he too loves skateboarding and spending time with family. Hoo-yah. So that, you guys can go ahead and be seated, but I wanted to give you this photo too, as one of those together. Now, Karen Joel is not here this evening, so there must have been some kind of holdup. Otherwise, she would have been here this evening. But we'll talk about Lance Corporal Peter T. Hiskin, United States Marine Corps. Karen, Peter is her fiance, and Peter attended Lawrence Central High School. Both of his parents and brother have all served in the United States Army and are very supportive of his choice to join the Marine Corps. Peter loves his job and appreciates the amazing camaraderie he finds with fellow Marines. Peter also enjoys the outdoors, fishing, and hiking. Peter's fiancée, Karen, also has family with a proud military history. Her mom, Colleen, has served as a board member with our Blue Star Banner program, and her stepfather, Matthew, has served in 3 wars with the U.S. Marine Corps in the Indiana National Guard. Both families couldn't be more proud of this amazing young man. So that concludes our Blue Star Banner family presentation this evening. To all who are currently serving and for all of our veterans who have served our country from the City of Lawrence and Mayor Collier, we thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have an update from the Fort Harrison Reuse Authority. If you could please step forward and state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you for being here. Yes, that'd be fine. This is a request made by several council members, so I appreciate you taking the time out to come and provide the update.
Hi, and I want to thank everybody for having me here today. I just want to take an opportunity to introduce myself. Aletha Dunstan, the new Executive Director of the Fort Harrison Reuse Authority. Took the position about 4 months ago, so still getting my feet wet, but I want to thank everybody that's been so welcoming here at the Fort. I have about 8 years' experience as a Planning and Community Development Director in Marion, Indiana, and then most recently worked for the State of Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs, where I ran the Community Development Block Grant Program for the State of Indiana. So I'm very excited to be here. This position really offers such a unique mix of planning and economic development and preservation that I'm very excited. So I did bring a few maps and updates. So I don't know if I can pass those out to
That'd be great.
to the board here. And if possible, I'd like to just leave a stack of my business cards here, if anyone would want one. I'm sure some of you are more familiar with the Fort than others, so I just wanted to run through a couple of projects that are currently underway or in progress. One is the current Fortune Academy is working on plans to expand and add a high school, so we're working through the process with them. One of our last real estate holdings as a reuse authority, we're currently working on finalizing the sale of the old PX Commissary building on Lawton Loop East to Context Landscape Architecture out of Fortville, who will be, they're very eager to get in there and start their project. We're also finalizing details with a 97-room Hilton True Hotel, just there on Lawton, or Lawrence Village Parkway, apologies. And right down the road from that, we're still working with the Indianapolis Public Library for a 25,000 square foot brand-new branch here at the Fort. So I believe that'll be their second largest library in their entire collection other than the Downtown Central Library. As you know, we broke ground just recently with 60 new single-family units south of Ivy Tech. So that'll be 60 units in a phase 3 of the David Weekley Homes project. There are currently only 4 opportunities left in the phase 2, just north of Triton. I think you've heard that Fridays at the Fort started last month, and those will be happening every other Friday. Farmers Market will start this Thursday. And the one thing we're trying to do with the city as the Reuse Authority is work on a more formal, permanent civic plaza area where those events are held, something with a stage and a pergola or pavilion so that it's comfortable to use on an everyday basis, you know, if you're there for work or coffee, and then also when we have the more regular events. And we just released a survey today on all of our social media asking questions about how you might use that space and what your priorities would be in that space. Let's see. This coming, the 14th, we're going to be hosting a tech campus focus group with some of the tech companies here at the Fort. Just kind of ask their opinions of what are our opportunities here to grow technology, what is the low-hanging fruit, something that we can be doing that makes it more attractive so we can compete with some of our regional competitors. And we're joining the Greater Lawrence Chamber for that event. And kind of all that falls in really just some general stepping up in the marketing department of the Fort. We really see an opportunity to tell our story a little bit better in a more coordinated fashion here within Lawrence, but then also outside of Lawrence. So really just want to come here today, see if anybody had any questions on any of those projects or anything else going on at the Fort. Otherwise, just happy to be here and introduce myself. So.
So any council members have questions at this time?
Oh, one other map I can tell you that I just passed out is the update, and we have Judy here from the Arts for Lawrence. The city and the arts groups have made it to phase 2 of the Lilly Endowment Grant. They're in the top 10%, and I think only 25 out of over 200 applications made it to the next phase. So she can tell you a little bit more. I think she's going to get on the agenda for next month to really go into detail about those projects, but she's here today if you have any questions.
Go right ahead, Councilor Green.
I have a question. Is the Fortune Academy, are they going to be expanding, adding on or anything, or?
Yes, it would be another building addition. They're facing Otis Avenue. Okay. And they're just going through the design of that now, so.
So the Reuse Authority approves the designs, or?
We will, once they reach a final design. They'll also have to go through DNR for the historic preservation portion of it.
Okay, if there's no other questions from council members, Aletha has left her cards up there, and we'll have a way to get in touch with you either by phone or email. So we do appreciate your time and the information. Thank you so much.
And thank you, and if you haven't, please follow the new Fort Bend IN on Facebook and Twitter, because we really are trying to tell all the stories of the Fort, not just the Reuse Authority's business. So I look forward to seeing you all around the Fort. Thank you.
Okay.
Next on the agenda, we have LFD special recognition.
First of all, Madam President, thank you very much for letting us be on the agenda tonight. We do have a certificate of appreciation, but before we do that, I'd like to just explain the reason that the police chief and myself are here. When something, it doesn't have to be tragic, but when something happens that in the city, and we did have something tragic, we lost one of our firefighters. The day it happened, the police department was jumped in with both feet, and they helped us out tremendously. And I had called Chief Hoffman, and he helped with a task that was, we were up against the wall in time. It was a short period of time. And what I will tell you, and we wanted to be up here together, is that the red and blue line run parallel together. And when I say it's truly a public safety team, it's a team. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on day to day, the jabs here and there, but when it comes down to it, we've been there for each other. It works both ways, but we're very grateful to our police department for the way they jumped in and helped us get things done, a lot of details. And so I just want to thank you publicly, and I know you want to say a couple words before we present this certificate.
So to conduct a funeral and procession and all the ceremonial things that occur when there is a line of duty death in the public safety family, it's a massive undertaking. Everything from the planning of the ceremonies themselves to kind of where the police department gets involved with the shutting down of many city streets in the middle of a busy Friday afternoon, and to conduct that in such a way that it is effective, efficient, respectful, and safe for everyone involved. It's a big deal. So we partnered. There were many people, many agencies that were part of the planning committee. I'm sure I'll leave some out, but obviously LFD and LPD, IMPD, the Marion County Sheriff's Department, there were other agencies as well. It took a lot of motorcycles and a lot of shutting down of intersections. And I want to say for any of the Lawrence residents who were along that route on that day who stopped and took their hats off and just showed utmost respect for that fire engine carrying fallen firefighter Holt, that was really spine-tingling, and I really believe it brought the community together. So if there is such a thing as a silver lining, it is the support that the fire department and in a lesser way the police department received from this particular incident. So there were. You don't want to take over this part of the presentation? So as part of the planning committee, we were tasked with finding a way to take an awful lot of firefighters, medics, EMTs, and their families from Horizon Christian Church on Indian Lake Road, from that location over to the Oak Landon Road Cemetery. So we didn't want them all having to drive their cars over there. There was no parking. It was a logistical nightmare. So one of the things that I worked on with some of my colleagues was trying to figure out how to transport these folks, and we didn't know what the weather was going to be like either. I went down a long list of various transportation organizations, and I won't name them, but without sounding negative, all I got was no's, 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 until I called some representatives at Miller Transportation. They're up on the northwest side of Indianapolis, and it was with no questions asked, when do you need us, where do you need us, and we'll be there, and how many buses. And so with almost no notice, really almost less than 24 because our backs were against the wall, they gave us the services of 2 volunteer drivers and 2 full-size school buses that say Miller Transportation on the side, of course. And they just took care of it and didn't ask any questions, and it really, because of that, the whole day's events went seamlessly. So Dino and I both felt it was important to recognize the people who made that possible. And if you would, sir, sirs.
The day we had the funeral, the next day was the mini marathon, so resources were very tight that day. And with Miller Transportation, they allowed us to pay the proper respects to one of our fallen firefighters. So I'll just read you, gentlemen.
Come on up.
So the City of Lawrence Fire and Police Departments, this is certified that the chiefs of the Lawrence Fire Department and the Lawrence Police Department have officially awarded the Certificate of Appreciation to Miller Transportation for the recent tremendous support of the Lawrence Fire Department in the wake of the death of Lawrence firefighter Jeffrey Holt, who fell in the line of duty April 30th, 2018, and was laid to rest on Friday, May 4th. Selfless personnel from Miller Transportation, specifically Mr. Todd Edwards, Mr. James Martin, and Lavelle Smith, immediately responded to our request for aid and volunteered their time, buses, to assist with transportation of LFD firefighters, medics, and their families during firefighter Holt's funeral procession. This was done with very little time and no questions asked by all 3, and was critical importance to the city's sad days of events. Awarded respectfully and with gratitude on behalf of all members of the Lawrence Fire and Police Department, and in the presence of the City of Lawrence Common Council members and Mayor on this 4th day of June, 2018, Chief Hoffman and myself would like to present you with the Certificate of Appreciation.
This is James. James.
Lavelle couldn't be here, he wasn't feeling so well, so.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It meant a lot to us to be able to help out.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next on the agenda, we have comments of council members and special recognitions or resolutions.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilor Wu.
I just wanted to give an amazing shout out to our EMS at church during our service on Sunday at Church of Nativity. One of our parishioners was having a situation, and we called, and they were there very promptly and helped her, and it was just amazing to see not only my congregation help, but for EMS to come out as quickly as they did and take care of her with such kindness, and that meant a lot to me, and on behalf of my congregation, I wanted to say thank you. So I want to make sure that message gets across. It was really appreciated.
Thank you. Any other council members?
Madam President, I would like to thank David Lotz for coming into Keniston Farms and patching the potholes. He also brought to my light that the Keniston Farm Villas is a private community, and the roads cannot be fixed. Their HOA is supposed to take care of sealing the roads, potholes, or issues that arise, and I wasn't aware of that. Their streets, it's just one street, Tulliston. It hasn't been deeded over to the city of Lawrence, so that is the reason why the splits are still in the street. They would have to fix them themselves with their HOA dues or whatever fees and things that they have to pay. And I also would like to suggest to the administration, if we could have an economics roundtable, like get all the businesses in the area and throw out some of the businesses that the residents would like to see in the city, and why is everybody just building around us? I mean, why can't we get a hold on some of these businesses?
Thank you. Any other councilors?
Madam President,
Yes, Councilor Williams.
so at the last, I'm sorry. All right. So at the last meeting, I had some issues that in my district I wanted to, I brought to light. And I just wanted to know, do we have any feedback or resolutions to some of those issues? And I'll reiterate them. One is 65th and Carroll Road, just north of the drainage that we're receiving from Hancock County. That issue is a huge issue because the flooding that the residents have along Carroll Road is getting, it's been outrageous. Like I articulated then, they're receiving all kind of matter to include carcasses from animals on their property. Two, the German church paving, the date on that. And three, the bridges on 56th Street and German Church. The walking paths or the walking bridges, if you will, prefabricated, so the people can have access to the shopping districts in Lawrence along Pendleton Pike and Sunnyside Road. And I offered a suggestion to offset the cost of those projects as well. So just wanted a little feedback on that. And the trash policies, I am in the process of adding more or stricter rules or more teeth, if you will, to the policies of trash of these property owners along Pendleton Pike. Our city is looking very bad along Pendleton Pike, just east of Steak and Shake and right across the street over there. That trash just accumulate. Property owners need to be held accountable. And then the sidewalk at 6262 White Rabbit that is caving in, and it's caving in right along the water line. That issue is starting to, well, not really even starting, is happening a lot of places throughout the city. And I've also reported to DPW 12437 Rosehaven Drive, that same issue is occurring. And if we don't get a handle on that, those water lines, that's going to be a huge, huge issue. And then, is there any updates on the community crossing matching grant? That it would be 75-25 match for those potential projects. Are there any information on that as well? Well, whatever the number is, an update about that so that we can get on top of those issues or try to address those issues with my constituents in that district. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Council Williams, any other councilors?
Madam President, I mean,
Yes, Councilor Wells.
I'd like to echo something that Councilor Williams just said about the trash. It's fairly significant on some of the thoroughfares in my district as well. And if possibly during administration comments, or maybe if they want to research it, get back with us later at the next meeting. I was just curious as to why it is this municipality isn't utilizing the prison systems, the court systems for people that are on, some kind of public service. The prisoners can be organized with the prisons and the court systems. I've talked to other people in the municipalities that do that as well to get these individuals to pick up the trash along the thoroughfares. And I was curious why it is. I've never seen that done in the city of Lawrence, and I was curious as to why that is. The other thing that's come to my attention is I've been extremely diligent somewhat with the tall grass. We've got a number of houses in my district that basically are abandoned for whatever reason, and the grass in many of these places have yet to be mowed ever. It also came to my attention that the city is not actively looking for any of these addresses, that the only time that it's addressed is if there's a complaint filed. And I was just curious if that is in fact the method of the way we operate, or we're not actually actively looking for these properties, we're just waiting for someone to complain. And like I said, if someone from administration would like to weigh in on that tonight or the next meeting, I would like to have an answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors?
Madam President, one more thing, almost two, but we'll see. So the code enforcement officer, we don't, my understanding that the DPW director is the code enforcement officer now. So I'm getting a lot of questions about we can add to or enhance or strengthen, however you want to articulate it, any ordinance of our city. But if they're not being enforced, then it still doesn't matter or go anywhere. So the code enforcement officer, who is it? Are we looking for one, or is the DPW director the code enforcement officer? Whatever the case, can we get an answer on the code enforcement? And two, thanks, Mayor, for correcting the split of 50-50. Still a small price to pay for the safety of our constituents, especially in our district, my district, District 4. That is a very small price to pay, and I think that we should step up as a city and do everything we possibly can and not only enhance the beauty and safety of our constituents, but it also makes our city a better place. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I'm done now.
Okay. Any other counselors? Okay, thank you so much. Next on the agenda, we have approval of minutes of regular meetings of May 7th, 2018, and May 16th. Is there a motion?
Make the motion.
Motion, Counsel Freeman.
I'll second it.
Second, Counselor Wells. Any discussion? All in favor by show of hands? Okay, it's unanimous. Next on the agenda is signing of vouchers, approval of claims, and authorization of payment. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion, Counselor Wheeler.
Second.
Second, Counselor Parker. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor by a show of hands to pay the vouchers? Unanimous? Next on the agenda is reports of committees. We have one, and that's from Code. Counselor Williams.
Madam President, we met prior to our regular scheduled meeting, and it was voted that we keep proposal number 2 in code until we get the police department and DPW representatives to weigh in on the stop signs.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is unfinished business, proposal number 2, 2018. Please.
Proposal number 2, 2018, introduced by Councilor Shavat, a proposal for an ordinance amending the municipal code of the City of Lawrence, Indiana to establish an all-way stop intersection at River Birch Lane and Elm Ridge Drive.
Okay, that will stay in code for now. Next on the agenda is new business.
Proposal number 3, 2018, introduced by Councilor Parker, a proposal for an ordinance amending the municipal code of the City of Lawrence, Indiana to establish a preferential stop intersection at Indian Lake Boulevard, South Drive, and Hidden Oak Lane.
Okay, I will assign that to code.
Proposal number 4, 2018, introduced by Councilor Parker, a proposal for an ordinance amending the municipal code of the City of Lawrence, Indiana to adopt a new chapter of Title III, Article 3, to establish standards for the elimination of graffiti.
That will go to code as well. Next on the agenda is comments of the administration.
Try to keep this real short since you've got the packet there in front of you. I tried to answer all your questions from last time. Just a couple of add-ons here. To address the problem, the trash, which has obviously been annoying to me also, as it is to everybody, we did meet with Best Equipment this past week, and we are in the process of buying a street sweeper that is made to sweep streets, not one that's made for parking lots. So it'll be a much bigger, much more efficient one. We're also going to purchase what's called a high vac, which is essentially a gigantic shop vac that actually goes in the back of a pickup truck, and it has a very long, about a 35 or 40-foot hose that goes out and just basically sucks up the trash on the thoroughfares in there. So hopefully we'll get those two taken care of, and that will take care of some of the issues. I do have to mention before sitting down that we did have a great ceremony this past weekend in which we recognized our Vietnam veterans with the moving wall. And that was a great turnout on that Saturday afternoon. We had blessed with very good weather, and it was just a tremendous way of showing Lawrence. I think the wall is moving as of today. It will be back each year. We did move it to a different location, which actually may end up being a better location, quite frankly. It was over there by Lee Road in Memorial Park, and you could actually see it from Lee Road. So that may be a better. Wait and see until next year. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Mayor Collier, do you have any idea on timing on those 2 purchases for the trash removal?
I don't know. Mr. Fenwick, you're the money guy. I know
Is that in-
one we're in the process of signing a deal on. The high back may be a couple weeks behind that in there. Hopefully by the end of the month on both. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Madam President, I would like to know if there's any feedback from the administration on some of my concerns
Okay,
that I brought up last month, ma'am.
okay,
It would be very helpful, if most of your concerns are DPW concerns. Very helpful if you would indicate that to them before tonight's meeting. I can address the one concern you had about the Community Crossroads grant. That's a 50-50 split. That information just got out. Projects are due to be submitted by, I believe, the end of July. The money will not come out to the cities until sometime after the end of August. Last year it was in the 1st of September. So how that money is spent, well, actually, Shrewsbury engineers, they consult with us on what projects will take priority, and we pretty much pay attention to what they're going to tell us.
okay. So maybe for some, since we had several questions, maybe if it's possible for us to get DPW representation at our next,
I agree 100%.
that'd be great. And then-
I'll get them here.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's great, and one note is that I did bring this up prior to tonight's meeting, so this is nothing new. This is just a recap.
Well, if you're asking about the bridge, that seems to be your main topic, that would be a rather major project. That project would take some design, engineering, it would be very costly. I can't get an answer for you, the bridge, in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I understand that.
In 6 weeks' time. But it's something that's on our radar. Whether it'll be done this year, it'd be foolish for me to suggest that it would be. You know, I don't really know the answer to the question.
Right, so I'd just like to know any updates, something I can take back to my constituents. and let
Ask
them
also
know.
about code enforcement. I'm not sure, Bill Anthony's always been in charge of code enforcement. We have 2 other individuals who go out and will report or code violations, but Anthony is the head of the department.
So we have 2 code enforcement officers?
Bill Anthony and two additional.
So we have 3. Okay.
Generally speaking, Bill Anthony would not be in the street, but he has been, I know, recently.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have citizens' comments. Hi, please state your name and address for the record.
Linda Moore, 4909 Leone Drive. And I came to you guys at the beginning of last month. And since then, I believe we've had teenage shootings over in my neighborhood. There were two kids that were shot. And 2 weeks ago, the house next door to me was shot up at 11 a.m. on Monday morning. And it was a drive-by situation. It would have been very bad if it had occurred right now with school being out, because the kids play on that corner. And I don't know what the solution is, but it's getting kind of like the Wild West over there. We lost one potential renter who was a nice young couple. The woman was pregnant and looking at one of the houses in the neighborhood, but when we had to be honest about what was going on over there, and they said, oh, we'll go look in Oak Landon. I have another neighbor who is possibly putting their house up for sale. They were not planning on moving for another 5 years. And they're going to put their house up as is, which means it will sell for a rental property. So I'm kind of at my wit's end over there as being a longtime citizen. I know we've got some extra patrols. I see the extra patrols. The basketball goals were out again this weekend. The fireworks were going off this last weekend, and as dry as it is, they were setting off massive fireworks in the street, and I had ash clear down at my house. I did call it in. I wasn't sure whether they stopped because the officers came by or whether they were just ready to stop. I'm looking for solutions. I'm looking for some kind of long-term plan as to what we're going to address the west side. I don't want to see my neighbors leave that have been there and have been established for a really long time. The older people do not have places to go, and yet they should not feel that they are not safe. We should not have to hide in our houses because of what's going by on the streets. So I'm open for some kind of plan. I know our crime watch is not active over there. But I know when we did have a crime watch, it was like Groundhog's Day. The same issues were brought up over and over and over again without resolution. We've got drug houses over there. We've got drug activity. You know, we've got fast cars. We've got kids that are wandering blocks and blocks away from their homes, little ones, without supervision. So, you know, I can't make it go back to where it was 20 years ago, but I want something that resembles a good neighborhood, because that's what I bought into. And that's why I came to Lawrence, was it was a good neighborhood. You know, this stuff is coming in from Indianapolis. Great. Make it sure they're not going to come across the boundary lines into Lawrence, and it's not a good place for them to be. You know, I have no idea where the car came from the other day that shot the neighborhood up. We were lucky that nobody got hurt. And we were lucky that the house wasn't damaged more than it was damaged. But again, there are children in this block. There are children who play on that street corner. And I can't help it, the parents don't watch them, but I don't want to have to go out and do CPR and do rescue techniques on a child that's been hit by stray bullets. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.